Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Podcast. Today's guest is somebody that hosts a podcast, the 33rd and 7th podcast, and he contributes to ESPN New York 98.7 radio to talk all things NBA from the playoffs to our beloved New York Knicks. Anthony Donahue, how are you today?
Hey, Madison, thanks so much for having me on your show. It's quite the honor. I'm pumped, ready to go.
Alrighty, so let's talk about your podcast really quick. I really like your podcast. Who's your favorite guest you've ever had on?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I've been doing Knicks content now for 15 years. It makes me sound old, but I don't even think I'm that old. So actually, to be honest, the first guest I ever interviewed was my hero, and that was John Starks. And I've interviewed him, 20 times over the years. But the first show I ever did on a station in Long Island back in 2005, I was actually paying for the airtime, and I met John Starks the week before when I was interning at ESPN Radio, and I asked him to come on my show. I was so nervous. I was like, I just met my idol. I met him in the elevator, and he said he would do it, but then he gave me his number, and he never replied to any of my calls, and texting wasn't even relevant yet. I wasn't even texting yet. It was January of 2005, and then the show was supposed to start at 11 p.m., and I had my first guest booked, which was Brandon Tierney. And then I got a call from a blocked number at about 10:52, 8 minutes before I'm supposed to do the first show of my life. And it's John Starks. And he says, do you still want me on your show? I was like, of course. And so how crazy is this, growing up a diehard Knicks fan? John Starks is my hero. The first show I ever did, the first interview I ever did was actually interviewing my idol. I mean, you can't make that up. And it was, I don't know if I did that good during the interview, but obviously I've gotten better at my craft over the years. At least I think I have anyway.
Yeah, that's a great story. I remember you had Jeff Van Gundy on your podcast. That was a great listen. How long ago did you do that?
I've had Jeff Van Gundy actually a few times. I probably had Jeff Van Gundy about 5 times over the years. The first time I had him was in 2010, a few months before LeBron was a free agent. Well, I've had a chance to talk to Jeff a few times, but my favorite interview with Jeff Van Gundy was in 2014 because there's always a story around everything. And we were texting during the day, and I had Kurt Thomas on the show. In fact, when my show was live, and Jeff just said, "Text me when you're done with Kurt, and if I can do it, I will." So I got done with the Kurt Thomas interview, and I texted Jeff, and I said, "Hey, I just got done with Kurt." Jeff texted me back. He's like, "Listen, I only got 10 minutes." So obviously, I respect that. So Jeff comes on the show. We just kind of previewed the Knicks season, and there was about 1 minute left. And I said, Jeff, do you ever think about the old days? And, even though you never won a championship, just the great memories you had. And all of a sudden, he stayed on the show for about 30 more minutes, pouring out his heart on about his Knicks tenure like he never has publicly. And the interview ended up making, the Daily News, the New York Post, ESPN.com, Yahoo, every NBA site. And I was confused kind of because, he said he only had 10 minutes, and all of a sudden now he's staying on the show for an extra 30. And I don't know if he would have went even longer, but finally when it got to 30 more minutes, I actually ended the interview. And I always wonder, could I have even gotten another 10 minutes? I'm not sure, but it was amazing.
Yeah, I love Jeff. He's my favorite in terms of the former Knicks head coaches. And him, Mike Breen, and Mark Jackson, in my opinion, are a joy to watch together on ABC.
They're amazing, and there's a lot of Knicks history with all 3 guys, obviously. But What's funny is that I became a diehard Knicks fan in 1992 when I was in 4th grade. So even though I like Mark Jackson, but to me, because of my age, I consider Mark Jackson a pacer. Because I became a Knicks fan literally at least I became obsessed with the Knicks probably 2 months after they traded Mark Jackson for Charles Smith. So ironically, I actually consider Mark much more of a pacer than a Knicks. Now, if you're a Knicks fan and you're, say, 5, 6, 7 years older than me or older than that, you probably consider Mark a Knicks because he won the Rookie of the Year with the Knicks. He had some great years with Patrick Ewing. They won some playoff series. But for me, because of my age, I consider Mark a pacer. But I don't hate Mark, but I do consider him a pacer.
Yeah, a lot of people consider Mark a pacer. I remember watching, on NBA Classics, the Knicks-Pacer series with Jeff and obviously Larry Bird coaching Indiana and Jalen Rose and obviously marking it on the Knicks team, the 99 team that Ewing was hurt. It was like not even John Starks. It was like Chris Childs and Allen Houston. That team was fun.
Yeah, I was 15 years old then. I always say the spring of 1999 was the time of my life. I had been to Knicks games before, but in 1999 was the first time I ever went to a playoff game. Ironically, it was actually 20 years ago yesterday, actually. It was May 12th, 1999. I went to my first playoff game, and it happened to be versus Miami in the first round of that series. So, obviously, a playoff game is going to be bigger than any regular season game. When you magnify the fact that it was a playoff game versus the hated Miami Heat, it added, times 1,000 to that series. So, getting a chance to be at that was absolutely incredible. We won that game 97-73. I went to Game 4 as well. We lost, and then obviously everybody knows what happened. Game 5, Mother's Day in Miami, with Allen Houston shot that won the series for the Knicks. And Allen Houston doesn't make that shot. Jeff Van Gundy gets fired. Allen Houston with Shaw Sprewell probably get traded. A lot of things probably happen if that ball bounces a different direction. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs if that shot didn't go down. So
there's a good chance that if that shot doesn't go down, that the Knicks hire Phil Jackson to coach the team.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a possibility if that shot doesn't go down, Jeff's fired the next day, and there's a press conference a week later hiring Phil Jackson if that shot doesn't go down.
Yeah, and that would have changed a lot of history because then he wouldn't have been with the Lakers.
Right, that's correct. So, and he wouldn't have got with Jeannie Buss probably. So it would change many people's histories. And yes, I actually believe that if Allen Houston misses that shot, there's an 85 to 90% chance, won't say 100, that Phil Jackson is the coach of the Knicks a few weeks later.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that in terms of past Knicks history. So tomorrow night is a big night in Knicks history. It's the draft lottery and the possibility, the 14% chance that they land the number 1 pick. Do you love Zion Williamson as much as I do?
Yeah, of course. Everybody loves Zion Williamson. So the thing with me as a fan when it comes to Zion is that I'm trying not to love him too much because everybody knows this about me. I'm a glass half full person in life, and I'm a glass half full person as a Knicks fan. But the bottom line is I've been hurt as a Knicks fan a lot. There's no doubt about it. And you could take the average diehard Knicks fan, and they're probably not even half as vested as I am. That's how diehard I am. You know that. I've been going to Knicks games for 25 years. I've been at almost every Knicks game in the last 18 years. And I'm only 35 years old. But that's, I'm beyond vested. So I've tried not to fall in love with Zion because, obviously, the chances of getting the number 1 pick are slim. Now, all the other teams have 14%. Well, the 2 other teams after the Knicks have 14% chance. The 4 and 5, I think, have a less than 14% chance. I can't even figure this stuff out, to be honest. But so I've tried not to fall that in love with Zion because there's a chance he won't be mine. Now, if we get the number 1 pick tomorrow, I will fall deeply in love, and you should never fall in love right away, but I would fall in love deeply with Zion by midnight tomorrow. I'm just trying not to fall in love too much. God forbid the Chicago Bulls or the Phoenix Suns or another team creeps in and gets the number 1 pick.
Yeah, that's very, very true, but I just enjoyed watching him in college, which was...
Oh, absolutely. No, he was like a combination of LeBron James strength, I don't know, you're young, but Larry Johnson at UNLV explosion, Charlotte Hornets, Larry Johnson, he's phenomenal. Like I said, I'm just trying not to fall in love too much because I don't want to fall in love with a player that goes to the Phoenix Suns. I don't want to fall in love to a player that goes to the hated Chicago Bulls. So that's why I'm tempering my love expectations when it comes to Zion Williamson. And I'll say this right now. I would not be mad. Obviously, everybody wants to get the number 1 pick. Who wouldn't? I wouldn't be upset if we got number 2 because I tell you, I do love. I actually, as a person who loves guards, I love John Morant. I absolutely love him. I love his game. I think he translates to today's NBA more than a lot of young players. So if we got number 2, we'd almost be forced to take John Morant, which is not a bad thing. Obviously, if you get number 5, not that you can't have the rookie of the year at 5, but getting number 4 or 5 would definitely be a major disappointment, even though there's good players available. such as a guy like a Cam Reddish or something. But, if we get number 2, I'm not going to be mad at you because I truly love John Morant.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Morant, too. He was really, really good at Murray State. So, what would you do if the pick was not top 2? Would you trade it for a star, assuming that we'll get to Kevin Durant? We'll get to Kevin Durant, but to pair potentially with Durant?
Okay, so if you're going to trade that pick, you're going to have to wait till free agency probably, see what happens with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, etc. Obviously, everybody knows the players that are available. The Knicks have had a bad history when it comes to trading their picks, going back to trading Nene and Marcus Camby and getting back Antonio McDyess, who busted his knee in the preseason. So the Knicks have, trading for Eddie Curry and giving up 2 first-round picks in 2006 and 2007. The Knicks have had, even though there's different regime, the Knicks have had some bad luck, and Steve Mills has talked about not wanting to trade the pick. So if we get the number 2 or 3 pick, and Anthony Davis is going to be a free agent. I know everybody's talking about getting Anthony Davis. He's going to be a free agent next year. So, if you get wind that Anthony Davis may want to be a Knick, then you got to wait the year. I'm not trading the number 2 pick for Anthony Davis. I'm just not. Plus, he's injured a lot, and he has 1 year left on his deal. Now, if Anthony Davis wanted to be a Knick, and he had 3 or 4 years left on his deal, would I consider trading the pick? Yes, I would. But the fact that he has 1 year left on his deal, he could be a Knick next summer, I would not trade the number 2, 3 pick for Anthony Davis. The number 5 pick, yeah, we could have a conversation. But since you asked about the number 2 pick, 3 pick, I'm not doing it.
Okay, yeah, I agree with you there. I would trade it if it's 4 or 5, and maybe even 3, but number 2 would be tough to trade, and obviously I'm not trading the number 1 pick for Anthony Davis because you know how much I love Zion. So Kristaps Porzingis has been in the news a lot lately. We'll get to what he's been dealing with, but were you surprised when that trade went down back in January?
So I've always heard from people close to the situation that he wasn't always the happiest in New York. Was I surprised? Yes. And I was surprised how fast it happened. I'll never forget that day. I think at first we heard that the Knicks were meeting with Porzingis, and I'm like, okay, no big deal. And then second we hear he's unhappy, and I'm like, all right, weird. And then 20 minutes later, he wants to be traded, and I'm like, okay, interesting. And then 20 minutes later, he's not a Knick anymore. The way it happened was so bizarre. Usually when a star player wants to trade, it takes a few weeks. It takes a month. I mean, the way it went down was very bizarre.
Yes, I'll never forget that day either. It was right after my birthday. It was a few days after my birthday, and I saw, okay, Knicks are meeting with Porzingis. It's similar to your timeline, and then he requests a trade, and then literally 10 minutes later, he's traded to the Mavericks, and the Mavericks weren't even a team on the list that Woj initially reported. The teams were like the Spurs, the Nets, the Clippers, and then he goes to Dallas.
As somebody who has been around the NBA now for a very long time, been a fan of the NBA my whole life, the trade, and obviously Woj and those guys, they know their stuff, and Woj is on another level. The trades that happen, especially the big trades, they're the trades you rarely hear about. Those are the days you're just chilling at home, you're relaxing, watching TV, you're not even watching basketball, and you see a tweet that, Anthony Davis got traded to the Sacramento Kings. Like, something you didn't even expect. So the trades you hear about, not that they don't happen, but most of the trades that happen, you didn't hear about it on the come-up, such as, the Porzingis trade. We woke up that morning talking about Porzingis being a Knick and his first game back, and I was looking forward to that. And all of a sudden, by the end of that day, by the end of the afternoon, not even dinner time, by lunchtime, he wasn't even Knick anymore. It was just a wild day. And as far as, I don't mean to cut you off on other stuff, as far as the stuff that's gone on in his personal life, it's kind of like an ex-girlfriend. Even if they were bad, probably, I'm just going to not talk about it, just because, one, it's personal life, and him and his family were very good to me. When he was a Knick, they were very good to me. Anytime I did an event, Porzingis would always give me stuff autographed to raffle. If I did my toy drive, Porzingis and his family always gave me stuff. On Christmas 2016, his mom and dad brought me Latvian cookies. When I first launched 33rd and 7th, he was actually my first guest. And if you follow Porzingis, he doesn't really do exclusive interviews. He does stuff with MSG Network. I think you heard him on Michael K once or twice. Obviously, so as far as the other stuff, I like Porzingis a lot. Everybody knows I made him that get well card. I brought it to him in his apartment. So as far as the other stuff, I'm just not going to comment on it, and I hope that whatever's going on in his personal life, everything that happened with the girl, everything that's happened with the fight in his hometown, I just hope he can get past that. Yes, as a fan, am I mad that he wanted out? Of course. But I'm just not going to go the route of dissing him, especially dissing him publicly when somebody was good to you. Even though, yes, as a fan, am I upset that he wanted to leave the Knicks? Of course. But he was very good to me. So I'm going to refrain from talking about his off-the-court issues, especially publicly.
Yeah, that would that doesn't surprise me because you had a relationship with him. So, yeah, I just hope things get better with him too.
He didn't really do exclusive interviews, stuff like that, and for him to, he came on my show when I first launched it for like 35 minutes, so I'm just not gonna, I hope whatever's going on in his life, I hope he can get it together, and I hope he can come back and be a successful basketball player, and, leave it at that. So it's kind of like, an ex, I'm not gonna, he obviously had good times at some point, so I'm not gonna bash any exes, and I'm not gonna bash Porzingis. not that you had questions lined up about any of my exes, but probably don't want to bash any of them either.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to bash Porzingis, but I just hope he comes back and comes close to the player that he was when he was with the Knicks. And him and Doncic, I really like them together in Dallas.
Yeah, but let's not talk about them. I don't even want to think about that right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just interested to see what he looks like when he comes back. All right. Do you like Mitchell Robinson and Kevin Knox?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we haven't seen the best of either of them yet. Kevin Knox is extremely young. He has a long way to go, and he'll hopefully get there. I love Mitchell Robinson. He reminds me of one of my favorite players of all time. That's Marcus Camby, who was on my show last week. And, yeah, I love what Mitchell Robinson can do. And I love the fact that he doesn't try to be like a three-point shooter. He knows his role, and his role is awesome. So I absolutely love Mitchell Robinson. Kevin Knox, the jury's still out, but it's only 1 year, and he's 19, 20 years old, so I'm not about to say Kevin Knox is a bust. But Kevin Knox had a lot of good moments. He's just young. He's 19. He has a long way to go.
Yes, Kevin Knox, in my opinion, has a long way to go. I'm interested to see if they float him around in trade packages this summer in case they do end up getting like another star via trade. But
well, of course, every player, with the exception of every player in the NBA is tradable, probably with the exception of, I don't think Golden State would ever trade Steph Curry. Houston probably would never trade James Harden. I wouldn't say LeBron's untradeable. I would say almost every player in the NBA is untradeable. So, obviously, teams are always going to call about players. That's how it goes. Executives will always call teams and say, "Hell, what can I get for this guy?" So that's, no one's untradeable, with the exception of if I had to guess, Steph Curry, probably James Harden, a few other guys, of course, but nobody in the league is untradeable.
Giannis has to be in the untouchable.
I don't think the Bucks have traded Giannis for anything. I don't think. Yeah, maybe Damian Lillard. But yeah, for the most part, 97% of the league is tradable, always.
Yep, and that's what, if anything, I learned over the past couple years. I think that's it, that mostly everybody is tradable, because a lot of these trades were unexpected. Like Chris Paul to the Rockets. No one saw that coming. Obviously, Melo to Oklahoma City a few years back with the Knicks. And then Kyrie to Boston. There was a lot of big ones in 2017. And even there are some in other sports that were shocking. Like even Odell Beckham to the Browns. And
yeah, I didn't see that. I don't follow football as much as I used to. But I'm a Giants fan. I don't live and die with every game like my buddy Dave Rosenberg. But I was shocked that the Giants traded Odell Beckham Jr. Maybe I wasn't because of all his antics and stuff. His antics don't bother me as much as they may bother an older fan. But I was still shocked he traded him. Very shocked.
Yeah, me too. That was almost as big as a shocker as Porzingis in my mind. Another Knicks question I want to hear from you. What is your take on the job that Scott Perry and Steve Mills have done?
I think they've stayed the course. I think they've done a phenomenal job. The job's not done, and the job, unless the job isn't done in 1 year. So they've stayed the course. They haven't traded draft picks. They haven't traded for guys with, they haven't given up the farm for guys with 1 year left on their contract. So they've done all the right things, and now it's time to really step up this summer, which I believe they will, but they've done everything right.
I agree with you, and I think that they are not getting the credit that they deserve because I think there are so many things that they've done right. Like the Carmelo trade, that pick they got from Oklahoma City turned into Mitchell Robinson, so you got to give credit where credit's due. And then another good one is that they ended up getting 2 picks from Dallas for Porzingis, and they dumped the 2 contracts of Tim Hardaway and Courtney Lee. And then they get picks back. Even though they're future picks, but they're still first-round picks.
And listen, I like Dennis Smith Jr. He potentially has a role with his basketball team. I like Dennis Smith. If they can retain DeAndre Jordan, the problem is DeAndre Jordan's still very good, and he can get more money on the open market. So I don't know if he takes the mid-level exception, but he is very close with Kevin Durant. And if Kevin Durant does come, maybe DeAndre will take a little less to stay with the New York Knicks if he thinks they're a contender to potentially, play for the championship. That's always possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule out a DeAndre Jordan return. So what do you make of Kyrie Irving in that situation? I heard Ross Gold-Onwude on your podcast, and I couldn't agree with her more.
As far as what? The Knicks getting him or his personality? What? We talked about Kyrie for a little while. Yeah, he's an interesting cat. Obviously, if you have a chance to get Kyrie Irving, you get Kyrie Irving. It's that simple. He didn't play well in the playoffs. He didn't shoot the basketball well. But I think the problem with Boston is they have so many guys that need the basketball to be effective. Where if you have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and maybe like a bunch of role players that do the job, that may be better. But Boston has so many guys that need the basketball. From Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, even Terry Rozier to a smaller extent. All guys that need the basketball to be effective. So even though Danny Ainge is one of the best GMs in the league, the roster with Kyrie, and they went to the conference finals last year without Kyrie Irving. They were a quarter away at getting to the finals without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with Kyrie. Obviously, like Ron said, if you have a chance to get Kyrie Irving, you get Kyrie Irving.
Yes, but to me, he cannot be the best guy on a championship team. To me, he thrives more.
He can take the last shot here and there, but yeah, he can't be the best player. I agree.
He thrives more as a Robin rather than a Batman, as we saw with LeBron in Cleveland. I think he'd be a great second fiddle to Kevin Durant, assuming they possibly get him.
Who was the biggest shot in that Game 7 in 2016? That was Kyrie Irving.
Yep.
So I have no problem with Kyrie taking the last shot. But yeah, it's probably better if he's the second best player on a championship team. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I don't think you have an issue with that. If the first best player is, say, Kevin Durant or Kawhi Leonard, even though I don't expect him to get Kawhi Leonard. But Kyrie Irving, I think, would accept that.
Yeah, and you just talked about Kevin Durant. Ryan Berger I had on my podcast a few weeks ago. You know who Ryan Berger is. He thinks that Durant to the Knicks is a done deal. Do you agree with him? Because I do not.
But who said that on your show?
Ryan Berger.
Oh, Ryan Berger. Ryan Berger's a big deal.
He is a big deal.
Do I think it's a done deal? I think there's a lot of talk going on. I think it's very possible. I've heard the same things Ryan Berger has. Ryan's very well plugged in. I like to think I'm kind of plugged in as well. I've heard those same things, but as I said earlier in the show, I am a Knicks fan. So even though I'm a glass half full Knicks fan, as I said, as everybody knows, until I see it, I won't believe it. But I've heard those same conversations from people extremely plugged in. I'll leave it at that. Okay,
yeah, because that's exactly what Ryan said, and he sounded very confident when I asked him at the end of the podcast I did with him.
I mean, you said you listened to the show with Roz. Roz dropped a lot of, if you want to use hints, obviously Roz and Kevin Durant have a relationship. You said you listened to the show with Roz, so I think everybody can piece together what even she was talking about, even though she said it wasn't a guarantee. But if you really listen to what Roz said, it seemed like she was dropping a lot of jewels.
Yes, it did sound like that, but it was like a cautiously optimistic feel about it, and that's how I feel.
Correct.
Yes, so I really can't wait till July 1st. That should be fun. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs for a minute. Who's your pick in the Eastern Conference Final?
Man, that's a tough series. I doubted the Bucks a little bit versus the Celtics. The Bucks are a great team. Everybody talks about Giannis, but they have Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez. They have a great team. Toronto's playing at a high level. Kawhi Leonard's playing at a higher level. Bucks have the home court advantage. I'm going to go with the Bucks in that series in about 6 or 7 games. I'm going to take the Bucks.
I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 games. I just think Giannis is the best player in the series. It's funny because before the playoffs, I made a podcast predicting the whole playoffs, and I said the Raptors. But the Bucks have been better than I could have ever imagined in this playoff run, and Malcolm Brogdon's back. So I really think the Bucks are going to go to the finals, and I think they have a legit chance to beat, I'm assuming, the Warriors. We'll get to that series in a minute.
I'm definitely listen, I think even without Kevin Durant, the Warriors can definitely win that series, no doubt about that. But I think Portland will push them. They will push them good. Their backcourt is obviously tremendous. I would love to see them play 2-on-2. But I think at the end of the day, even if Kevin Durant doesn't come back, I expect the Warriors to win that series in about 6 or 7 games. Well, by no means will it be a 4 or 5 game series. I expect them to win that series. I expect it to be entertaining. I expect to have good games. But at the end of the day, the Warriors are still the Warriors, whether Kevin Durant is there or not. Obviously, Durant's there. They're better, but I think they can beat the Blazers without Kevin Durant. Because they're that good. And that's not a knock on the Blazers. The Blazers are a great team. They've especially after losing Nurkic. But I expect the Warriors to win that series, and I expect the finals of the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Golden State Warriors.
I'm with you there. I'm going to go Warriors in 6 in that series. I think Durant's going to come back in that series. I really have a feeling he's coming back, and that's going to be a big difference.
Yeah, so do I.
I won't be surprised if Portland perhaps steals a game at Oracle Arena, like how the Clippers stole 2 there and the Rockets stole 1 there, and make it somewhat interesting. But I think Durant comes back mid-series and leads them back to the NBA Finals. So
I agree with you.
A couple quick hits before we go. John Beilein was surprisingly hired by the Cleveland Cavaliers today. Do you like that hire for them?
I know he's a good coach. I know he's been very successful. I don't know enough about. I know the Cavs have a great rookie in Colin Sexton. I don't even know. I'll be honest, guy. I like to think I know the NBA pretty well. I didn't know he was on the freaking roster. So I hope it's a good hire. College coaches haven't always been very successful in the pros. I mean, Brad Stevens has. A lot of others have not. So good luck to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not even trying to break that down. Beilein's a good coach. I just don't know what the Cavs are doing. Are they going to get good players? Maybe they'll win the lottery. Who knows? So let's see what. At the end of the day, it's about who you have on the team, the players. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the lottery tomorrow night, and Beilein's supposedly representing the Cavaliers. That's what Adrian Wojnarowski said. I believe it was on Get Up this morning with Mike Greenberg. So another big coaching hire over the weekend was Frank Vogel to the Lakers. I think he's a better coach than LeBron's boy Tyronn Lue. Do you agree with me?
I'm not sure, but I think he's a good coach. I think Tyronn Lue is a good coach, but obviously coach LeBron James, you probably never get the credit you deserve. The Lakers, listen, if you're a Lakers fan, especially over the last 20 years, you've seen them win 5 championships. You've seen them be in the finals 7 times. You've seen them be extremely successful. I think it's an absolute disgrace that they gave Frank Vogel a 3-year deal and brought on Jason Kidd with his history. I think the optics are horrible. If you wanted to hire Jason Kidd, you should have hired Jason Kidd. Having Jason Kidd as the assistant, with Frank looking over Frank Vogel's shoulder, and Frank Vogel looking over his shoulder, and LeBron's relationship with Jason Kidd, where LeBron will probably respect Jason Kidd, but not Frank Vogel. That is just a nightmare, and honestly, I can't wait to see it unfold.
I'm looking forward to seeing how it unfolds, too, because a lot of people are saying that if it doesn't go well, then they could just can Vogel and make Jason Kidd the coach. And I wasn't a fan of Jason Kidd as a head coach. Just look at the Bucks this year. Mike Budenholzer goes in there and makes them a championship contender after Kidd leaves. And I don't think he did a great job with the Brooklyn Nets either. To me, he was better suited as an assistant.
They played really well in the second half. They beat the Raptors in that first round series, but I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of Jason Kidd. So, he's a great player, a Hall of Famer. But, we'll see what happens with the Lakers, and I expect it to be nothing less than a disaster.
Yeah, I kind of, it makes me sick to root for a disaster, but I just don't like the Lakers. They're my least favorite team in the league, to be honest.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Los Angeles the last few years, and they are a bunch of weird individuals. Not that Knicks fans are the most normal people, but the Lakers fans, they are a bunch of strange people.
Yeah, it's interesting out in Los Angeles, apparently. I've never been out there, but from people I've talked to, they said it's one interesting town. And I think Frank Vogel...
Yeah, you got a trip out there. You'll like it.
I really like Frank Vogel. He did great with Indiana with that team with Paul George and Roy Hibbert. I think that he's somebody that doesn't get enough credit for how good his Indiana teams were. I just thought he got a raw deal in Orlando with that dysfunctional franchise, and that's why he was let go.
Yeah, the Orlando's, they might be on the right track now, but yeah, Orlando didn't have any players. At the end of the day, no matter who, unless probably you're Greg Popovich, at the end of the day, it's all about the players you have on your team.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on the players. We talked about Anthony Davis and the chances he gets traded earlier. Do you think it's a done deal that he's traded this summer?
Probably. If you're the New Orleans Pelicans, unless you want to be just ridiculously spiteful, you don't want to go into training camp with the Anthony Davis situation hanging over you. We've seen what that can do to the franchise. When a player is on 1 year left on his deal and he wants out. You saw it with Minnesota with Jimmy Butler. You saw it with Melo in Denver. Just not a good situation. So even though they may want to be a little spiteful, but if they're smart, they'll deal him. But obviously, you want to try to get equal value. But if they're smart, they'll deal him before training camp.
I believe he'll be traded as well. So, final prediction: Kevin Durant, is he a Knick?
What's that?
Do you think Durant's a Knick next year?
I can't hear you.
Do you think Durant's coming?
Do I think Durant is a Knick?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
I'm with you
like I said,
too.
I'm still cautiously optimistic, but yes, I expect Kevin Durant should be in orange and blue next year. I do.
So do I. I'd say it's 70-30, and I think if the Knicks get lucky tomorrow night, it goes up.
Yeah. So it's a very exciting time as a Knicks fan. I should be very excited.
Yes, so tomorrow night should be very interesting, and I'd like to have you on the podcast again sometime in the summertime. We'll analyze the Knicks offseason and whatnot, and it was a pleasure having you on today.
Yeah, sure. No problem, Madison. Just hit me up. I got you.
Alrighty.